part of creating web application, there are different frameworks are available. Framework is a well-defined way of doing something. Well-defined way of doing something. So whenever you are going to create a web application or UI design with Angular framework, you need to have the knowledge of Angular. Whenever you want to create a UI with Bootstrap, you need to have the knowledge of Bootstrap, how to do how in a Bootstrap way we are going to create the UI. Whenever you are going to create an application with React, you should know the React. Then only you can create a web app or UI with a React. So that's what here in today's world, the most two important or the most two well-known or most popular two framework for UI is React and Angular. Okay, so these both the things would be the part of your syllabus and you will be learning those things. Got it? And now Angular is a framework. That means with a Angular you are going to create the UI design. Any idea why Angular come into picture? Why Google have created a framework like Angular, or any app which is designed by Angular? Any example can you give, guys? Do you have any app?
YouTube, Gmail.
Sorry?
YouTube, Gmail.
YouTube, Gmail, YouTube is now transferring to Angular. Yes, YouTube, Gmail, and the most important, the most popular app which is created in Angular is called Google Map. Google Map is a Angular framework based UI application, but the UI part of the Google Map is being done through Angular. Okay. See, in a Google Map, whenever you are going to navigate from one place to another place, the page loading has to be faster. So whenever your application demand performance, the loading of the page you want faster, you should not respond late. Whenever this is your requirement, you should opt a Angular for that. Okay. So why? Because Angular is a single page application. And what is single page application? What is multi-page application? All these things you are going to discuss in detail. Okay. So TypeScript is the programming language of Angular, and it is the superset of the JavaScript. Okay. So can anybody tell me what is the difference between TypeScript and JavaScript? Any idea?
JavaScript is the TypeScript static language and JavaScript dynamic.
Yeah, static data type language and JavaScript dynamic data type language. Okay, okay, fine. Any other significant difference?
So JavaScript is TypeScript is typed language. JavaScript is dynamic. We have to define the data type.
Yeah, data type. Yeah. So in a TypeScript, you have to give the type of the data all the time. Otherwise, it will not work with a variable. But in JavaScript, if you don't give the variable type also, it will work. It's a dynamic type dynamic type of data language. Okay, fine. Anything else?
TypeScript is object-oriented programming.
Based on execution, based on the execution, what is the difference?
It catches the error during the runtime and saves our time.
Yeah, this is the most important. What is it called? Difference between JavaScript and TypeScript. When you write a JavaScript, you can see the error in JavaScript only in the browser. When you do inspect, then when you go to console, there we are going to see the what is it called? What error has happened. But in JavaScript, error can be in TypeScript, error you can see it in the console itself, so that a developer task would be easier. Developer will not have to go to the browser and not have to load the page, and then they don't have to go to inspect, and so that's a time consuming procedure. So but in a TypeScript, when you want to write a UI, when you design your web page with Angular, in a console, you will see whether it is giving any error or not, rectify it, and then again load it. Got it? Like that. Okay, with this thing, keep in mind, let's start off today's session, which we are going to discuss. So this session, the morning session, is purely theoretical session. There is no practical associated with it. So, but this theory is also important. Okay, so unless and until you are understood this theory, you will not be able to conceptualize what is Angular is all about. And without conceptualize how Angular works, the learning of Angular would be incomplete. Okay. So let me share my screen. Yeah. So over here, what it is telling, which website do you think provides a better experience, Facebook or Medium? So we all know Facebook is a what type of application, what we do with it. It's a social media application. What about Medium? Are you familiar with the Medium website? Do you guys know this?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. So Medium is a blogger application. It is a blogging application. Okay. So where the people is interact with each other. Okay. So Facebook is a social media application and Medium is nothing but a blogger application. Now Facebook is written in Angular and Medium is not, it is written in a multi-page application in a normal framework. Okay. Now, since Facebook is written in Angular and Medium is written not written in Angular, what is the difference between these two because of using a framework Angular and because of not using a framework Angular? That we are going to see.
Sir,
Yeah.
Facebook is written in a Angular or React?
No, part of the Facebook is written in Angular. Okay, not fully, part, because there is an option called, there is a news feed of Facebook is written in Angular framework. Okay, where the videos of the news feed is going to be dynamically loaded and you don't have to wait for loading time. Got it? The total Facebook may not be written in the Angular, but there are part of the, see, Facebook is a very big application. Different functionalities are there and some different functionalities of Facebook use different framework. Got it? Medium is a blogging application which is not written in framework, but in which framework it is written, that is not been told over here. So no need to worry. Okay, now over here, see, this is a video where the news feed of the website is demonstrated. This is a video where the news feed of the website is demonstrated. If I run it, see it. So what we are doing over here, we are scrolling up, scrolling down. We are seeing the videos in the news feed, and we are giving comment. And whenever you are scrolling down, the new videos are loading very fast without having any response time. Why is that? Because the news feed part of the Facebook is written in Angular, and when it is Angular, it is a single page application. And when it is a single page application, the communication between the user and the client is asynchronous or based on JSON or through Ajaxified call. Because of that reason, it is becoming faster. So all these things we are going to discuss. Do not to worry. Okay, we'll go for the next thing. Yeah. Now over here, this is the second video where we are seeing the Blogger usage. What is doing in Blogger? We are just reading it something and we are writing a response for that. Now see, whenever you are doing the task in Blogger, it is taking time. It is taking time. It is a time consuming. So means response time is less. Why is that so? Because it is not a single page application. It is a multi-page application. So the most important, what is it called? Difference between the multi-page application and single page application is response time. So user interaction with a server would be less when it is a single page application. User interaction with server would be more if it is a multi-page application. Is that clear with all of you guys? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, have you observed the checkout process of PayPal and the Paytm? In which of these websites do you see the circle spin while loading the content? See, whenever you are going, suppose you are going to go for online shopping, and once you have once you have finalized the cart, what you are going to buy from the online store, then you are going to, at the end, you want to make a payment so that the product get delivered to you. Okay. Now, what is the payment gateway we'll be using? Most of the time, PayPal or Paytm. Okay. Now, see, whenever we are going to make the payment, so this is suppose payment gateway, or this is the UI for the payment. So we are going to make the payment. We are going to give the necessary information, and the payment would be done. Now, this payment can be a single page payment or can be a multi-page payment. So when this payment UI is a multi-page application, which is not an Angular based, then what will happen? Every request is going to create a new page. Every request is going to create a new page. So suppose in a particular one time, if 2000 people are trying to make the payment, so the 2000 page would be created by the server. So will it not make a network traffic? Don't you think so? See, in a multi-page application, when we are going to make a payment from the payment gateway, if on the same time 2000 payment is to made, so 2000 separate page would be created if your payment UI is being made through multi-page application way, not in an Angular way. But if you do the same thing, with a single page application way, what will happen? At the same time, though 2000 people are willing to make the payment, but for every request there would not be a separate page. The same page would be loaded for all the 2000 people with the different instances. The instances would be different, but the page would be one. So this way, the network traffic we can avoid. So that is also one of the advantage of single page application. Is it okay? Are you guys with me? Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now let's now observe the GitHub. And so what we are trying to set it up over here, we are trying to set up the context why we should learn Angular. That is what we are discussing here. Okay, so what is the advantage of going a single page application way of creating web page rather than multi-page way of application? But it doesn't mean that always single page is recommended. Okay, so there are some situations where you have to go with multi-page application. There are some situations you should go for single page application. There are pros and cons for both the way. That we are going to learn in upcoming slide, don't worry. But for a performance wise, the single page application is better. When the application is not very large in content, then it is better to go with single page application because it gives you better performance. Okay. Now over here, see, this is a, what is it called? This is a GitHub application. So same thing in a GitHub application, when you click a link, it is going to give you a new page. And in that new page, you are going to either read the page or you are going to make a request from that new page to another page. So when you are going to make a request or when you are going to click a link from one page to another page, a separate page is going to be invoked, and that page will come over here, and that is going to give you a response time more. Okay. Now there is another example which is called Google Font. Google Font is the way when you are going to make the first request to the Google Font, all the content is going to get loaded and it is going to be in the cache. Whenever you see, Google Font is also an application. It is a website where you are going to see already we have used the Google API fonts. No, so for the so where we are using that Google API fonts in our HTML and CSS from this site. And in this site, when I am going to load the home page for this site, it's going to load all the different fonts for you, and that would be stored in the cache. Now, when you go for the second request, suppose from the 100 font, I want to select a particular font and I want to see the look and feel of that font. When you customize your selection and when you do the second or third request, then the request will not go to the server. So request will be there in the cache, and from the cache, it is going to display the customized content which you are looking for. Okay, so this is a faster or this is a slower in performance. If your content is present in the cache in your local system browser, and from the cache, if your content is getting displayed, or it is not hitting the server and not fetching the data from the server, so it is a response time would be less or more?
Less.
It would be less. It would be less. Okay, so this is also one of the process how we can make our website. See, see, sometimes what we see, we are going to we are, suppose in mobile we are going to surf a website and the power goes off. Still, we can go to the another page of the website and we can see the content. The internet is not there. Still, we can go to visit other page and we can see how it is possible, because the because the website got loaded in the cache. So page 1, page 2, page 3 are there in the cache. So though I have lost the connection of the internet, still the static content of the page 2 and page 3 I can see because it was there in the cache. So the cache is always gives you a better performance of your website, because you no need to go to the server and no need to come back with the server's reference, which will reduce the turnaround time. So over here, this is another way by which you can increase the performance of your website. So this is what Angular does for us in a better way. Break the single page application into component hierarchy. So now that there is over here, there is a new term, component. What is component? Is a see, whenever you are going to create an Angular application or Angular UI, we are always will be creating the component. So what is component? We are going to discuss. Don't worry. So see, in a single page application means it is a component based architecture. Means you are going to create in a programming terms, component or class. In a programming term, component are TypeScript classes. Okay, and TypeScript classes means it is going to have some content within it. So it can have data and it can have function. Okay, now see, component are the part of the page, part of the web page. Suppose you have a home page. You have a home page. In a home page, you have a header, you have a footer, and you have a left hand side section, middle section, and right hand side section. So what you can do, the total page you can segregate into multiple components. So what we'll have, you are going to have the header component, you are going to have the footer component, you are going to have the left side component, the middle component, and right side component. Okay, and whenever in a single page, whenever you are going to request the home page, what will happen? For the home page, what are the component are there, that would be displayed in your page. So header component would be top, footer component would be in the bottom, left hand side would be in the left hand side of the page, right hand side component would be right hand side, and the middle component. So that you are going to, the design would be in such a way so that whenever I am requesting a home page, all its component with all its layout is going to be displayed on your page. So that's why component is nothing but it is a section or part of the web page. And component is a combination of, it can have some picture, it can have some text, it can have some link, it can have some or list. So whatever it may be, it is a part. See how we learn div. Div is nothing but it's a division or it is a section of the web page. Similar fashion, component are the part of the web page which is going to be written in a TypeScript class, and through the component only we are going to create the single page application. How? I'll discuss.
All right.
Now,
sorry. Before moving into that, have you got an idea about multi-page application and single-page application?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So answer my question. The topic, the first, the word I want to introduce in our discussion is multi-page application. We are into web application, no doubt in that. In web application, we have some category of application. We call it as multi-page application. Example?
Normal websites like Medium and the
Blog websites.
Asif, can you go to previous slide, fifth slide?
Yeah.
That
Previous.
PayPal and Paytm.
Which one, Sangeeta?
Previous.
Flipkart.
Next. The payment the payment page, the not Medium. Leave it.
This one.
So listen. Whenever we discussed on presentation, I used to say header page, header.html, footer.html, contact.html, index.html. Let's assume if I have some 7 HTML page all together put into one application. So which we also can call it as multi-page application. Whereas when it comes to dynamism, so dynamic adding, have you experienced this type of PayPal? Not even some 4 or 5 years back, the payment page, you will get a separate page of payment. So you will be loading the product first, then it will go to confirming the order, then it will go to payment page, then various types of payment, then your order will be placed. This is an example of multi-page. What is happening? So for the first time, I am in, let's assume, Flipkart or Amazon. I am confirming an order. After that, we are in initially product page. Then it is going to confirming the order page. Once it is confirmed, it is again taking to the payment page. There will be various categories of payment. So there we will choose credit card, debit card with respective to bank. And then we finally making a confirmation. So here, every time when I am doing a payment process, it is navigating to different web pages. Every time when the user gives a request, different URL gets loaded in an address bar and you are getting a different page. That is, if it is different URL, different request is hitting to the server. And the server is returning back the whole page. Entire page is sending from server to client. It can be confirmation order or it can be payment page, whatever. So for sure, this increases whatever the performance factor we discussed. So right now, due to these drawbacks, one thing is server not notes to reload the page every time. To minimize the request to server, catchy from the client side itself, until otherwise the information is obsolete. If the information is obsolete, no other go. The content needs to refresh from server. Due to these drawbacks, we are moving from multi-page application to single-page application. What is single page? There were a lot of factors associated with single page. So in single page, we have a lot of components. We will break the pages into components. Here, whether the entire page will get loaded?
No, ma'am.
I'll show you an example. Sorry, I'm stopping your screen share. So randomly, hope you can see my screen. Have you experienced this type of screen ever? Confirming the order?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's assume you are providing an email ID and you are clicking a continue. Do you think entire page gets reloaded?
no, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No,
So
ma'am.
only what? The first portion. So when I give my email ID and continue, it will go to my Flipkart server and it will check my email ID whether it is there or not. The thing is, I can say instead of entire page, only this block. Technically, we call it as component. After this, I am submitting a delivery address. So when I give a delivery address, only this delivery address component alone will be stored in my database. Finally, order summary. Finally, the payment option. So instead of reloading the entire page, only the respective component gets refreshed. so that we are reducing lots of load to server and we are minimizing the time. Whatever the performance factor we were discussing from the beginning will be achieved by this. So instead of reloading the entire page, in my page, I'm going to have 4 components. Every time based on the user request, the respective component alone will be triggered on my server. Such type of application we are going to build. Listen carefully, all of you. So we are getting into the world of Angular. You can't even miss one particular file or one particular block. Then you will lose the continuity flow. The first session is purely about introduction to single page, why we are going for single page, and what is the reason of Angular, why the Angular comes into picture. So after that, we will get into how to create an application in Angular, and then structure of Angular and so on. We will traverse entirely with Angular. So listen carefully. You got it? Point number 1, multi-page application. We are moved to single page. In single page, we have various components. Every time entire page will not get reloaded. Only the respective component which I wanted to load, that alone gets loaded from the server. By the way, I am reducing lots of crucial performance factor. I'm improving the lot. Any doubt? Shall we get into the topic?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Please
ma'am.
aware of technical terms of Angular. Yes, Hasib, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sangeeta. Where are we? Okay, let me share my screen.
Yeah, let's get into the topic.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so what we will be discussing over here. So what are the topic we will be discussing? As per Sangeeta ma'am said, the why Angular come into picture. So to change multi-page application into single-page application. This is the reason Angular come into picture, which gives us performance. Okay. Now, what is multi-page application? See, example of multi-page application. Suppose e-commerce sites like what is it called? Like Amazon. Amazon is a multi-page application, and Google Map is a single-page application. So these are the different example of multi-page application and single-page application. When to go for multi-page, when to go for single-page, we'll be learning that. Okay. So apart from that, justify the need of components to build a single-page application. See, we need to know in a single-page application why we will be dealing with component. So that we'll get to know. Apply the principles used to break down the user interface into components. So in a single-page application, we are going to break the page in a multiple sections, and these multiple sections are called as component. Demonstrate how to break down the UI into component. We are going to learn we are going to break down the UI into component and all these things. So one thing I would like to demonstrate you what single page and multi-page application looks like, means how it is get loaded from the server. So for that purpose, what I will do, we have a paint file over here. So this one. Okay. So here we have a home page. Home.html. And here we have a about page, suppose, or contact page. Contact.html. Okay. Now in the home.html, what we have? We are going to have the header part. So this is the header part where I am going to have this one. Header part, it will have some HOME, home link, and then contact link. Suppose 2-page application it is. Same thing will be here in the contact.html also. So it is having what? Home and contact. Now both now home page is having a body where it is going to describing about the company. Suppose here I am writing the content over here is home or about the company. About the company. Now in the contact page, what will be the content of the contact? Suppose addresses. Here it would be addresses. And then it will have the footer portion. Both the page is having suppose footer portion. What is there in the footer? I am not writing, just writing the footer portion by naming it as footer. Okay, can you guys tell me it is a multi-page application or single-page application?
Multi-page.
It is a multi-page application because you have a page where you have when you click on home menu, it will go to the home page. When you click on the contact menu, it will go to the contact page. Now same application, how to make a single page application? Any idea how we can make a multi-page this multi-page application into single page? What we are supposed to do? Any idea?
If you click on home, it will pop up the window of contact.html like that.
No. See, what you have to do, you have to create the component. You need to create the component of the header. You need to create the component of the about body, and you need to create the component of the footer. So now, the header component is common. These two are same, right? Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Is it not?
Yes,
So
sir.
these two are also same. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Now, is about the company body of the home, is it the same as the address component? No. So for that, so can you tell me how many components you should create so that in a single page you are going to have all the components for both the page? How many components you need to create?
So four components.
Yeah,
components.
so one is header, another one
Second
is
is
footer,
footer.
which are common in both the page, and there is a body of the home and there is a body of the contact. So I'm going to create this 4 component. Now what I will do in a single page, what will happen? In a single page, what will happen? When you click on the home component would be displayed in the home in the header section, and for the home, the about the company component would be displayed over here, and the footer would be displayed. Now, whenever I am going to create a contact, can you tell me what will happen? What component is going to change with the address component? Any idea?
About the company.
Yeah. So that means you have now here you have only one page. Here you have only one page. One page. But in the one page, I have a multiple component. So when I am going to click the home, so what will happen? The header component would be displayed over there, which is home and this one. And then the component which is going to be displayed below this, it is nothing but about company. At the end, it is going to display someone was asking something, footer component. So now, whenever what will happen, any idea when you click on the contact link, what will happen in that case?
About the company will change to addresses.
Yeah. So is the whole page is changing?
No, sir.
No. So header is as it is there, footer is as it is there. Only this part, which was this one, which was the body of the home, is going to be replaced with the body of the contact. That's it. In a single page, based on your request, you are changing the content and it looks like a multiple page, but actually in the single page, based on the shuffling of the component, the page is changing. The page changing behavior you are going to see. Is it okay, guys? Understood all of you?
Yes, sir.
So what we have done for, so suppose I have a 20 pages, means 20 page, suppose I want to create a 20 pages. So for the 20 pages, what are the component required? I am going to create that component, and then I'm going to just shuffle the component in the page, and I'm going to create a new page. Actually, I'm not creating a new page. I'm just changing the component inside the page, and we are getting a look and feel of the new page. Is it clear with all of you? So, so which is better? From the home page, if I click on contact link, and I am loading a new page, this is better? Or whenever I'm clicking on the contact, the header and footer would be there as it is. Only the body part of the home is going to change with address. So which is the faster in your general knowledge? Which would be the faster?
Single
That
page
one
application.
page.
Single page application would be faster, because here you are not changing the whole page. It is not. It is calling the server in a adjectivified way, and the component which already loaded in the browser, that is going to be changed, and that way it is always faster than multi-page application. Okay, this is why we are learning Angular now, which is nothing but single page application. All of you clear with this? Any questions on this? See, normally, or we may have 20 pages, but the template of the 20 pages may look like same. Maybe all the 20 pages will have header, all the 20 pages will have footer, all the 20 pages will have the same carousel. So instead of loading the same carousel for every page multiple times, let it be on the one page. Only the component change will make it happen, so that we are going to get a look and feel of the new page. So with single page, we can do that. Okay. Is it clear, guys? Okay, fine. We'll go for the next now. So over here, what we'll do. So these are the things is our agenda. Now, left hand side is a single page application, and right hand side is the multi-page application. Can you tell me what are these in a multi-page? See, you have a different section. Like a div, you have a different section, and these different sections are nothing but considered as the component of the multi-page. Okay, and in a multi-page, page would be one. Only the shuffling of the component will take place, and which is going to give a new content to your web page without requesting a fresh page to the server, and which may take longer time. Without doing that, partial rendering of the page will take place based on the component, and which is going to be a smoother surfing of the website. Okay, now the example of multi-page application. Amazon is a example of multi-page application. When you are dealing with a very complex application, when you are dealing with a application where data is huge and enormous, then the single page application will not be a good idea. That means in that case, you need to create a thousands of components. So that will not be a good idea whenever application is too complex and too big, and when it is dealing with a huge amount of data. Don't go for single page at that time. Like Amazon is a very complex website where more than 12 crore product is being displayed. So for this purpose, single page will not be a good idea. You have to go for multi-page application only. When you go for multi-page, when the application is very big. Now, what are the multi-page applications? Multi-page application are traditional web application that reload the entire page and display the new one when a user interacts with the web page. See over here, when you click on the home, that it is going to request in the server, suppose domain name /home.html. So it's going to request to the server domain name is www.abc.com/home.html. So for that request, home page will get loaded. So how it get loaded? It will that request www.abc.com/home.html. That request go to server. Server finds that page from the server, and then it sends back to the client and user. It is going to get rendered. Similarly, when you click on the contact menu, for that contact menu, again one link will be created, www.abc.com/contact.html. So every new page which you are requesting to the server is nothing but a new link. And for that new link, the page is going to get rendered from the server. So that is what the multi-page application way of working. Okay. Okay. It consists of several pages with static information. So what are static information, guys? In a web page, what are called as static information?
Text image.
Yeah, text, images, these are called as.
Not changing.
Sorry?
Sir, which is not getting updated,
Yeah, which is not dynamic, which is not changing.
yeah, which is not dynamic.
Which is not dynamic, which is not changing. So these are called static information. So every page is every page is a container of images. Every page is a container of text. Every page is a container of hyperlink. So these are all the static content of the web page. So in a multi-page application, you will have a several page with all this content. Multi-page application generally have large data and complex architecture. Just now what we said, like Amazon, it's a very large and very complex application. So when it is a very large and complex, you should go with the multi-page application, because in a large application, if you are bother of creating component, you may land up creating thousands and thousands of component, which is going to give you a which is not being what is it called, which is going to be difficult for a developer to create that thousands of component for an application. So for a simpler application where the performance you want to increase, go for the single page application we are designing. Each time the data is exchanged, a new page is requested. So just now what we have discussed, whenever so in a multi-page application, one page will request another page will request another page. So like that way, the navigation of one page to another page will take place. This process takes time so it is a takes time because every time the whole page is getting rendered from the server. So that means the turnaround time is more. Most large scale e-commerce apps are built in, though it is a time consuming, but though it is not faster, but still we are going to use MPA for the complex application, which architecture is very complex. For those kind of scenario, we will go for the MPA only. Now, what is the multi-page application lifecycle? In a multi-page application lifecycle, client from the browser is going to request a page by the URL. Based on that URL hit the server. Based on the URL, server is going to find the HTML page, and that HTML page as a response it sends back to the client. So once the client gets the HTML page from the first request, from that HTML page, if you click on any link, again that request is go back to server, and for that click on link or for that click on form, then the server is going to again search that page for that request, whether it is a post, get or anything, and then it is again gives back to the HTML page. Another HTML page which is ready for that request in the server is going to be send it back again to the client. So this is the multi-page application lifecycle, how the web page is getting rendered from the server. Initial request, page is going to get loaded in the client machine. From the page, if the page is having some form, so the user is going to give some detail of is going to enter the detail of the form, and then the user is going to submit the form. Submit the form means posting the data. For the posting, with the data taken by the form, it is going to hit the server, and server takes the data from the form, and based on the data, a dynamic page which is already there in the server is going to get rendered to the client. So this is how actually the multi-page application lifecycle looks like. In a multi-page application, see here, the pages would be ready. The pages would be ready with us. So how many, suppose suppose I am going to, for my application, I am going to create 100 pages. So all the pages would be ready, and for based on your request, then the specific pages is going to get loaded in the client machine. Okay. Now multi-page application architecture is what? In a multi-page application, there would be a UI level architecture. UI level means front end, which will be having HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So already we know HTML, CSS, JavaScript are the client-side programming language through which we are going to create a web pages. Now UI is going to interact to the business or application layer. So business or application layer means where your programming logic would be there, where your business logic would be there. Business logic of the application will be written in a server-side programming. It can be a Java, it can be a Ruby, it can be a Python, okay, it can be a C++. So it can be any server-side programming language which is going to have the business logic of your application. And on bottom of it, you are going to have the storage layer where you are going to, where your business layer is going to communicate to the data which is there in the database. So this is the three-tier architecture of multi-page application, three-tier architecture where you are going to create an application with a multi-page architecture way. Is there any question from till now, guys? Is it clear? See, a web pages, yes, what we are creating, definitely it has a client server architecture. So client server architecture means what? Client who is seeing the pages in the browser, and server means who is producing the pages to the client. So unless and until, see, you are as a developer, you are going to create the application and put that application in the server, and this server is a system which is connected in the internet. The client is going to consume the pages from the server by requesting the URL. Got it? So every web application is nothing but follows the client server architecture. So if you have created an application and you save your application in a machine as a server in Bangalore somewhere. So from the USA, client can visit that server with a link, with a proper link and he can serve the pages from that server to his machine in the client side. Pros and cons of the MP. This is very important. Whenever you are going to work in a company, that time you have to decide what type of application it is, and I should go for which approach, multi-page application approach or single-page application approach. So what is the pros? What are the advantages of multi-page application, and cons? What are the disadvantages? Pros is very good and easy for proper SEO management. Any idea? Anybody knows? If I create an application in a multi-page way, why SEO management would be easier? Any idea? Have you come across the time SEO, search engine optimization?
More keywords to match.
Yes. Whenever you see the SEO is a way, SEO is a process where based on the keyword you are going to search a page. So when you have a different page with a different keyword, means different title, different heading, different heading, different content. So when you have the page with a different content, the searching of the page with a different content would be easier. But if you have the single page with a different component, the searching would be difficult because keyword would be less, or the text which is going to distinguish that page from the other component will be a difficult. So that's why SEO will be a good option. So if you want your application to go SEO friendly and SEO is your first priority for your application, then you go for MPA. Provides a visual map of the web app to the user. So in a multiple page, you are going to get a visual map. So there are suppose there are 20 pages are there in the application, and every page has a name by its functionality, and that name of the pages is going to give you a visual map which page is doing what, and to traverse the pages, you are going to use the links. Easily scalable, that is no limitation to adding new content. So it's easily scalable means what? Now I have a 20-page website. I want to add some more pages. I'm going to add another 20 pages. So no problem in that, no harm in it. What are the cons? Comparatively complex development. So when you learn the single page application Angular, you will find it that the complexity of creating single page application is lesser than the multi-page application. Front-end, back-end development are tightly coupled. So in a multi-page application, front-end means HTML, CSS, JavaScript, back-end means Java. So these are tightly coupled. So every page which is communicating to the server or which is communicating to the backend are tightly coupled. They are not loosely coupled. So in any application which we are building, one criteria for developing the application is make different component loosely coupled so that one component can be interdependent on other component, interlinked on other component, but not tightly coupled. It should be means only separate UI testing you can do, only separately backend testing also you should do. Why? Because they are loosely coupled, they are not interdependent on each other. They are interconnected but not dependent. No option to use the same backend for more. This is a very important cons which is there in the MPA. In MPA, whenever you are going to create an application, the server-side coding of the MPA does not support in a mobile application. So that is one disadvantage. Low flexibility. Low flexibility means what? It's not in a component-based single-page application. Your whatever you are displaying to the browser to the client, it is flexible. That means it's going to change accordingly as per your requirement. But for MPA, it is not that much flexible. And the cost of changes while adding a new functionality. See, in a multi-page application, the writing of the code would be more. And when the writing of the code will be more, the developer will take more time, and the cost of the development will be bigger than the single page application architecture. Guys, any questions? Okay, now there is an example. Yeah, tell me.
Sir, what exactly this tightly coupled and loosely coupled means?
See, tightly coupled means tightly coupled and loosely coupled. What example I should give you? See, tightly coupled means there are two components which are interconnected but not interdependent. This is the best terminology which I can use it. Okay, there are two components which are interconnected. That means one component is communicating to the another component and fetching data from the another component. Fine, but the individual, they have their own existence. Okay, they are not interdependent. To have the existence of one component, I should not have bother about other component. So that is called tightly coupled and loosely coupled. Getting?
And sir, what is mobile not supporting mobile?
Yeah, mobile application means what? See, in a multi-page application, when you are going to create a back-end programming in Java, so that same Java you cannot use it in the mobile app. But in a Angular, if you create a web application, the same web application, same coding, you can go for making it mobile app also. Means in a Angular, you are going to create a web application, same web application you can convert to mobile app without much changing of the code. But in a multi-page application, if you have a backend coding Java, that you cannot convert it so easily to the mobile app. It does not get supported. Okay. Yeah. There is an example Airbnb. Airbnb is a site which is nothing but example of single page application. So single page means it will have multiple components. Okay. So the content, how it is going to change in the single page by changing the component or by shuffling the component. All the components are ready. Whenever you are going to request a page, index.html, which is the single page, with that single page, all the component is going to get loaded in your browser, and then whenever you are going to see the different content of the page, the what is it called, the component is going to get changed and it is going to give you a new content of the page. Now this is very important. What are single page application? Single page applications consist of just one single page that works inside a browser and does not require a page reloading during use. Can anybody explain me why single page does not require page reloading?
Because sir, it only reloads the content we have opted. It will not reload the static content of the page.
Yes, yes.
Sir,
Hmm.
sir, can you explain once again about coupling? And what it means? What is loosely coupling?
See, loosely coupling means, I'll tell you. See, suppose suppose I am I want to call Anil. Suppose I want to call Anil. Now I have Anil number and I have Sunil number also. Now, so I can call Anil, I can call Sunil, no problem. But if I have a Anil number, I don't have Sunil number, but Anil is having Sunil number. So that means to call Sunil, I need to call Anil and get the Sunil number. So this is called tightly coupled. That means Sunil is tightly coupled with Anil. Without calling Anil and getting the number from the Anil, I cannot call Sunil. But if I have the both the number Anil and Sunil, whenever I want to call anybody, there is no interdependency. I can call directly. So that is one example. You can consider it as a tightly coupling and loosely coupling. Loose couple means what? There is an Anil existence, Sunil existence. I want to talk any one of them. So I am not bothered about I want to call any one of them. I don't have to call Anil to get the Sunil number because I am having both the number with me. But if I have Anil number, I don't have Sunil number, but Anil is having Sunil number. To communicate to Sunil, I need to take a interdependency of Anil. That way, Anil and Sunil is tightly coupled, not loosely coupled. Is it clear? Your understanding?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So means there is an individual existence and they work by their own and they are not they're interlinked but not interdependent. Anil also knows Sunil, Sunil also know Anil. No problem. And I am also having both their number. I can call any one of them. They are not interdependent. But when I have Anil number, not Sunil number, then Sunil is dependent on Anil so that I can communicate to him. Yeah. Next thing, SPA represents the content in easy, elegant, effective way as it loads all the content on a single page rather than navigating the user to different page. Can anybody explain this point? What it is telling?
It's not when we click on any link or anything that it's not navigating us to the new page. It's just reload component which is on that page.
Yes, correct. Now, hard point is faster than traditional web application. All the way from the beginning, we are discussing this. So no need to take our head more on this. After the initial page, not only the data is sent back and forth instead of the entire HTML page that reaches the bandwidth. Can anybody explain this point? After the initial page load, only the data sending and receiving will take place, not the page content. How it is possible? Any idea, guys?
Yes, we are loading the entire page or just one time. After that, we are just giving the information to the component. So, in component, what exactly the giving the information. Passes to the information.
Yeah. So on the first request, all the component is loaded in the browser. So if any component is required for getting new content, there is not page required. But if there is a data has to be changed? Is there any dynamic data that has to be loaded for the different component? For that time, and the question response will take place. Okay. Now the example Gmail, Google Map, Facebook, GitHub are built on single page application. Say Gmail, Google, say Facebook is also a single page application. Maybe previously it was not single page, but now they have converted it into single page. Okay. I'm not sure what is the framework that is React or React.
Because Facebook has the
Yes. Now single page approach. See they are telling age is one and we are just shuffling the component. So from this folder we are changing the component of the page and we are getting new content. Now this is a very important difference between the life cycle. How actually traditional multi-page life cycle looks like in the real website and how the single page architecture life cycle will look like in the right website. Can anyone differentiate these two? Which way they are different?
instead of instead of normal data extension period.
Yeah. So that means the asynchronous call to the server, and based on the asynchronous call, you are going to get the response of the client. So since it is the asynchronous call to the server and asynchronous response, that means full page load not required. Partial page load is good enough for a particular component and get rendered. Okay, over here, new page is going to get requested and you are going to get the new page as a response. But over here, after initial request, one index.html, which is the single page, is going to get requested in the client, and henceforth it would be a classified call and the JSON response which is going to get you and on the single page, it's going to display all your different content. Next is the architecture of SAP. Architecture of SAP. See, definitely the UI part of the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The UI part or the client part is also called as the presentation layer. So what you are presenting to the client. So what you are presenting to the client, I am presenting the HTML with the CSS styling. So that is the presentation layer. Application layer is what I am making my presentation dynamic. For that, the application client-side application layer is JavaScript. Then JavaScript is going to JavaScript can communicate to the APIs like say server. So already we have learned in JavaScript how in a through JavaScript we can call an API and we can fetch the data, we can post the data, we can get the data and all. So application layer JavaScript can call an API and interact with another API, whether it is a localhost API or whether it is an online API. Then that JavaScript is going to communicate or interact with the data access layer, and data access layer means what? The JSON format or XML format way the data transmission will take place between the JavaScript and the presentation layer. And the data access layer can also take the data offline storage. Can anybody give me the example of offline storage? What we call it as offline storage?
So we were storing in our HTML like JSON file.
Yeah, JSON and XML is not offline storage. What is offline storage?
MySQL, sir.
Yeah, MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server. These are all offline storage, which is the RDBMS, or it can be a MongoDB, Redis, Cassandra, CouchDB, PouchDB, which are nothing but NoSQL. So these are the example of the offline storage. These are the data services where in a JSON and XML format, you are going to transmit the data from the JavaScript to the data access layer. And JavaScript can also communicate to the APIs. Already we have learned how JavaScript communicate to the APIs. Pros and cons of the single page application. Pros, better user experience. Okay, so if it is a faster, user will be happy. Smooth and fast, as there is a less load. Smooth and load would be less, it will be smooth and fast. Easy to develop and deploy. So once you have learned the Angular, you will get to know that it is through Angular or through React, you can create your application with ease, without much effort. Easy to debug with Chrome. So in a single page application, you can debug it easily because in a compile time, you'll get the error. Can be transited to mobile app. See, you create a web app through single page application way, and that can be converted to mobile app without much difficulty. Can cache any local storage effectively. So through cache also your loading of the pages will be faster, because when the component are being part of the cache, then component shuffling will be takes place faster, because it no need to connect to the server. What are the cons? Disadvantage: perform poorly on the search engine. So already we have discussed, MPI is a good in SEO, but SPI is not that much good in SEO, because you will not get that much keyword for the component, because every page will have a header, we will have a title, we'll have a content, but in a component way of creating application, you will not have that detail. So that way, the search engine wise, it is not that much friendly. It is slow to download because heavy client frameworks are required to be loaded to the client. So whenever you will go for, sorry guys, I'm getting some background sound. See, whenever you are going to learn Angular more, you will see whenever you are going to create a skeleton of Angular, there are so much of file is associated, so much of folder is associated with it. So to put your application which is written in Angular in your server, in a live server, it will take some time. It will take some time. It will be little bit heavy for the server. It is less secure compared to the traditional multi-page app, because it is cross-site scripting. Okay, it is a less secure. Security wise, it may not be that much good than multi-page application. SP is very dependent on JavaScript, and memory leaks in JavaScript can even cause powerful system to slow down. So SP is very dependent on, see, single page application is dependent on JavaScript. Why? Because single page application written in TypeScript, and TypeScript is nothing but the superset of the JavaScript. So your TypeScript programming of single page application would be converted to JavaScript, and the code which you are writing or web page which you are creating from SPA fully on TypeScript, which will be converted automatically to JavaScript. So that means it is a JavaScript independent. It is very much JavaScript independent. Popular framework to build SPA: React, Angular, Vue.js, Polymer. So there are many frameworks are there which is built in SPA architecture. But among them, React and Angular are most popular. Now some question: which of the following website is an example of MPA? Guys?
Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon, MPA, fine. Let's observe the commonalities between the following images. So here they have given some images. What they are telling, Bluetooth in the car and Bluetooth in the mobile. So what is the commonality between these two? Any idea? Left hand side page is not getting loaded. Let it be. Yeah, this one. So Bluetooth in the mobile and Bluetooth in the car. What is the commonality? What is the common in these two?
We can connect another device to it.
Yeah, you can connect one device to another device. You can share the data. You can share the data. Okay, that is the thing. What is the commonality of the Wi-Fi of AC and the Wi-Fi of TV? What is the commonality? Same thing. Through Wi-Fi AC, you can operate on the AC from a remote, dynamically from your remote. Same thing. TV also, with Wi-Fi TV, you can through the remote you can use your TV. Then these are the batteries. There is a car battery and there is a inverter. What is the commonality between these two? So the functionality wise, both are same. It is going to give us the power supply. Let's observe some card component for different website. Are you guys okay? You want some break or shall I continue?
Continue, sir.
Another half an hour it will take to complete
Continue.
this concept session.
No, sir, continue.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay. Okay. The thing is that next thing, can you guys tell me what is a card component? What is a card? We call it in a web page. In a web page, what we call it as card? Any idea?
Sir, it's a content which contains like article, header, footer.
Yeah.
Then we
So
open it.
the section of the web page, which is a combination of image, combination of text, combination of links, these are the things. This, see what is being highlighted over here, this we can call it as a card. So card is nothing but small portion of the website which will have multiple component together, which will have multiple. So image is there, text is there, hyperlink is there, then paragraphs is there. So this is nothing but call it as a card. So it is like in a website, in a page, you are having a small website like section. So that is, we can call it as a card. So this card we can, while you are creating an application through Angular, this card type of designing, we are going to make it through component. So over here, this is also a card. Card means this is a section of the web page where multiple different type of HTML elements are there with a content. So these are also, this is also one card, this is also one card, this is also one card, this is also one card. These are the example of the card. So what is the a web page comprises component that can be reused. So this kind of card of the web page we actually write in our Angular as a component. So component are nothing but it can be considered what we see as in the form of card in our web page. The key benefit of creating component to build UIR. So what is the key benefit? What is the key benefit of creating component? Modularity. So one component can, so modularity means, see already in a first course we have learned modular approach of writing program. So where there would be a function and each function will does his own job, and whenever that job has to happen, we are going to call that function. So similar fashion, in a component way, we are going to have the component class. Component class will have the function. Each function will do some job, and this way it is a modular way of writing UI for through Angular. Reusability. So every component is a class, and whenever you are dealing with a class, that means it is a reusable. Easy to maintain. So maintenance work would be easier whenever you are going to use the create a UI with a single page application way. Easy to test. So with Angular, with React, you are going to get a feature of testing. So you are going to have a different type of code would be allowed for you to do the, see like Java, you have a JUnit testing. For JavaScript, you have a Jasmine testing. Similarly, for Angular, you have a karma testing and Jasmine testing. So there are features are already present for Angular to do the testing in a easier way. So already it is there. So these are the advantage of creating UI through component way. And which we are going to make the component most of the time, card-like content, we are going to make it in the component for in Angular. What makes good component? So the component which can be fully tested, considered as a good component. Component which can be accessible everywhere can be called as a good component. Right to left awareness, what is it? I'll come to that later. Support of theming. So a component with support of theming. So when we are going to jump into the real world of the Angular application, that this time would be more clearer to you. Now over here, can you tell me guys what you are getting from the left hand side picture? What it is representing with this picture? What information you can, what input or insight you can get it from this picture? Anybody?
And instead of 3 gadgets, we can
Little bit
carry one
louder.
gadget. Sir, instead of 3 gadgets, we can carry one gadget.
No, I can't hear you.
It's a component consisting of different features mixed in.
Which are component, guys? In the left hand side picture, which are component?
Sir, knife,
The scissors and the
axe.
saw.
Yeah, and what is page?
Sir, the holder.
Swiss
Yeah,
knife
the
is
tool.
made.
The tool. See how the page is got created. Page is a combination of components. So this is a page where you have a knife component, where you have a blade component, where you have a scissor component. So together with a proper layout, you are going to create a page like this, where you are going to use all these individual components. So whenever you are going to create a page, you will start creating the page first, or you are going to start creating the component first?
Page.
Sir, page.
Without component, can you start creating the page?
No, ma'am.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Yeah, first you see, it is a first you have to create the component, then those component you are going to attach to the page, how it is, how you want the look and feel, and you are going to get the page design. Got it? So suppose this there is a knife component is there. In some other page, I want that knife component. Do I need to create the knife component again, or I'll reuse it? Reuse it. I have a scissor component in some 14th page. I want to use the scissor component to be displayed. Do I need to create the scissor again?
No, sir.
Yeah. So component you are going to create for one time, and that you are going to reuse whatever page is requiring that component to display. Okay. And same tool, the look and feel of the component can be different, and it's going to give you a different page. So in the right hand side picture, it is telling that I have a you don't in a single page application, in a component way of creating app, multiple C component you don't have to create. You are going to have only one C. See here, in a multi-page application, maybe you need to create the same content more than one time if it is required to be displayed in multiple page. But in a single page application, one component one time, and wherever you want, use it. Don't worry. So that is what reusability will be. Reusability is a advantage what you are going to get it in a component way of designing web page. Okay. Next, UI design approach. So whenever you are going to design a UI, there are two approach of doing it. Whenever you are going to design a UI, there are two approach you can use it. One is called atomic design approach. Another is called component based design approach. So which we are focusing on, guys, among these two approach?
Component based.
Yeah, component based. There is an atomic and there is a component. Angular is a component based design approach. So can anybody depict that, what it is telling? Try this.
Atoms together make molecules. Molecules together make organisms.
See, whenever I want to create a page, what I should create first?
Components.
Sorry? Yeah, so see, whenever I want to create a page, I need to first understand what are the atoms or what are the granular level content I want to display in the page. So I'll create an atom first. Okay, then there may be some content which is the combination of multiple atoms. Then I'll create molecules. Then it is a human organ, how it is being created. The number of molecules together will create an organism. The number of organisms together create a templates, and the number of templates will create a pages. Got it? This is the atomic approach where you are going to create the least significant content of a page first, then combination of that you are going to create the next level, combination of that you are going to create a third level and the fourth level, and at the end you are going to get the pages. So that is how the UI design should take place. It is not that you are going to create the page and you are going to start coding the page. No, first you are going to create the content of the page, which are the most granular level to one level up, one level up, one level up, and then at the end you are going to get the page. So now the very important thing, component based design approach. So whenever you are going to design a web page, see for creating, can you tell me, for creating a database, what diagram I have used? We have used for designing a database. What diagram you have used? Guys, are you there?
Database class diagram.
The relation diagram.
ER diagram.
ER diagram, right? ER diagram. For designing a class before starting the project, for creating what are the class to be created for my application, which diagram I have used?
Class
Class diagram. So for before starting and creating the class, I am going to have a class diagram. Through class diagram, I am going to decide which are the class I will be using. Similarly, for designing the database, I am going to use the ER diagram. Similar fashion, whenever you are going to create a application in Angular, you have to design what are the components you are going to create, and for that component means there are some concept called identity, elements, component, composition, layout, and pages. So these are nothing but the hierarchy of your page, which is being designed in a SPS single page application way. So identity is what? Whenever we are starting a work in Angular, we should identify the identity of the page. Then whenever we are going to start a work on Angular, we should identify what are the elements, what are the component, and what are the composition, what are the layout and pages. Once this identification is done, then you start coding for your UI with Angular. Got it? So this is the way of, before starting the Angular way of writing code, you need to identify for a particular page which are identity, which are element, which are component, and then start coding. This is kind of a ER diagram. This is kind of a class diagram where you are going to decide which would be the component, which would be, and the component will have what are the elements, and the elements will have what are the identities, and with component how the composition will be formed, like that. Now we are going to discuss what is identity, what is element, what is component, what is composition, what is layout and pages. So for that purpose, can somebody read it out and tell me what is identity, what we call it as identity over here? Read this out and tell me.
The project's core brand element like typeface.
In a Angular for UI designing, which we call it as an identity of a page.
Icons.
Icons. Okay, I can take your answer. Icon, fine. Then see what identify your page. See, the text or font style is an identity to your web page. Okay, the background color is the identity for your web page. The font color is the identity of your web page. Okay, so see, can you create a web page where page 1 is a green background and the page 2 is a yellow background and page 3 is a blue background? So most of the time it is not. Most of the time all the pages of the web page would be in same color. So that same color will become the identity of your website. Got it? So for creating your web page in Angular, you first decide what would be your identity of your website. So what would be the font color? What would be the background color? What are the icon you are using? What is the primary and secondary color? That determines your website identity. So that is what the identity. First, you have to decide when you are going to start working on Angular. Can you tell me what is elements then? What we consider as the element of a particular web page or website? Guys, read it out and tell me.
Buttons.
Sorry, yeah, buttons. Then
Badge.
Input.
All the functionalities that the user can use in the
see that the basic HTML tags, which gives us some content in the web page, we consider as the elements. So button, link, input, drop down, these are all the elements. Nothing. While designing your web page in Angular, you need to identify this, which are identity, which are element. Element are the basic HTML tags. It can be a button, it can be a hyperlink, a tag, it can be an input type text, something like it can be a drop down select tag like that. It can be a heading H1, that also we can consider as an element. Okay. IMG image, can we call image as a element in a web page in Angular? Can you call it? Yeah, that also we can call it.
So, yes.
Yeah, sometimes image, suppose same image is having in the multiple page or all the pages, that time image will become identity. Okay. Now come to the most important part, what we consider as the component in the web page. What you see as a component over here? Guys?
Cards.
Yeah, the cards in a web page we can consider as a component, which is a combination of picture, text, and some links. It can have some other thing also, no problem. So within a website, there is a small website inside as a card. We can call those are as a component. Composition would be what then?
Composition is combination of cards or
yeah,
like
composition is the combination of component. Okay, so this is one component, this is one component, together multiple component consist a composition. What about this one then, layout? These are the terms while designing UI through Angular we will be using. So your project manager is going to give you, chalk out the identity, composition, component, element for this requirement what has been given to client, and then we start working on Angular. So that's why it is required to identify them. What is called layout? Layout means your web page should look like how. So how many rows would be there in your web page? Every row will have how many columns, and each column will have what content. So these are nothing but the layout. And then next is pages. So pages are nothing but with layout, with component, with layout, placing the component with a particular layout. What we got, it is nothing but pages. Now some quick check. Out of the 5 distinct level of atomic design, fill the missing ones. Tell me. Out of the 5 distinct levels of atomic design, what are the last two there in the atomic design?
Molecules is missing.
Templates.
Yeah, molecules and templates. Fine. Yeah, that's it. Now you guys, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Anything you have not understood, you need some little more discussion on that, you can tell me. Is it okay? Have you understood the component way of creating UI? Is it fine?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So now on in Angular, you will become a component way of writing UI with Angular. So you'll be jump into that world. Initially, Angular will little bit, you may find it difficult, but later on, as the days progresses, you will find it very interesting. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. So this is purely theory. There is no demo. There is no practical for this sprint. Actually, one sprint is there for this. That is going to be roll out. I think Sangeeta ma'am will decide when to be roll out that one. Yeah.
I'm sharing some reference material for their self reading.
If possible, one more time you can go through all these slides. So whatever is been explained, one more time you can do the revision. That way also your concept will be more clear.